Hello everyone, this is a new tutorial about how to install ArchLinux on LVM logical volumes and Systemd-boot. This will be a really tiny short tutorial, so let's do that quickly. Let's set the keyboard layout. In my case it's Spanish, so it's ES. Let me load keys, yes, okay, done. Now let's verify the boot mode. ls sys firmware fe bars. Okay, so if you can see this, it means that your system is UEFI, so that's correct. Next will be let's check the internet connection, IP link. Okay, it seems that I have an internet card, so let's check if we have internet connection. Ping arc Linux origin, sorry, com, and we have internet connection. Perfect. So let's check the system clock, time, date, ctl, set, ntp, true. Okay, perfect. Update. So now it's time to create the partitions for your disk. In this case will be LVM with Systemd-boot. In this specific case, the only thing we need is a FE partition in FAT32 and a second partition that will be the rest for LVM. Because the FE partition will be mounted on boot directly, there is no need for a boot partition. So let's do that quickly. Let's check the disk. Okay, in this case is dev VDA, 18 gigabytes. Perfect. So let's create the partitions. CF disk dev VDA. Perfect. In this case, GPT because it's for UEFI system. So GPT. Okay. Let's create a new partition, 1 gigabyte, because it will store everything related to boot. So 1 gigabyte is okay. 1 gigabyte, and the rest, a new partition for the rest. Perfect. And let's check the type. The first one is F system. Perfect. And the other one is type Linux LVM. Perfect. And let's write yes, and let's quit. Perfect. Okay, let's check the partitions. Fdisk, let me check here. Okay, fdisk -l def vda. Yeah. So here we have def vda1, that is the FE system partition, and the vda2 that will be store everything related with LVM. Perfect. The next thing will be okay, let's format the FE partition, for example, mkfs fat -f32 def vda1 vda1. Perfect. And let's create, now it's time to create the physical volume partition for the vda2. So for example, pv create def vda2. Now we have the physical volume created on def vda2. Let's check with pvs. Perfect. Now let's create the volume group. vg create. The name of the volume, in this case I will call it ArchLinux, just like that. And this volume group will be on the def vda2 partition. Perfect. And let's check the volume group, VGS, just like that. The volume group was created. Perfect. And now it's time to create the logical volumes, and those logical volumes will be the partitions for the system. So lv create minus l 20 gigabytes. The volume group will be ArchLinux because it's the volume group we create, and the name of the volume will be root. So we are going to create a logical volume of 20 gigabytes on the ArchLinux volume group, and the logical volume will be called root. Perfect. And now we are going to create some one for home, another one for home. Let's put only 10 gigabytes. It doesn't matter. Obviously, 10 gigabytes is not enough for a typical home partition, obviously. But I want to show you how to increase the size of the logical volume later, and you will see how flexible is LVM, because that is the interesting part of LVM. So home, okay, created, and another one for swap, for example. You can create a swap field, for example. That's also a good option, but LVM is so flexible that maybe it's enough if you just create a logical volume for swap, because of the flexibility. It could be a little too much. Create a logical volume root and then inside create a swap file inside for the swap. Because LVM is so flexible, maybe it's not necessary going so far, but you can do that. You can choose what method is better for you. It doesn't really matter. The swap partition will be 4 gigabytes enough. Okay, perfect. Now let's check the logical volumes, LVS. Perfect. Now we see that the home is 10 gigabytes, root is 20 gigabytes, and swap 4 gigabytes. Perfect. Okay, now it's time to format all those logical volumes. It's like format a partition, but you are going to format the logical volumes. It's quite the same. Let me clear this and mkfs.ext4 for the def, the name of the volume group are Linux, and then the name of the partition, in this case root, for example, just like that. And the same for the home partition, just like that. And let's format the swap partition, mk-swap, and the same def Linux and swap, just like that. Perfect. Everything has their own format. Let's check the format with fdisk. No, if you check yeah, exactly, because if you do this VDA, obviously it's not going to show you the logical volume. In order to check the logical volume, it's just like that. There is no need for anything else. Okay, so let's go for the next. Let's mount the root partition in /mnt for the installation. So let's do that quickly. Mount def Linux root in /mnt. And to comprovate that, you can do dfht. And you can see that def mapper ArchLinux root format in type ext4 20 gigabytes is mounted on /mnt. That is wonderful. It's working perfect. Now let's mount the rest of the partitions. But in order to do that, you have to create the rest of the folders for that, because they are inside of mnt. So let's create mkdir -p mnt boot. This is for the FE partition. If you remember at the beginning, we create an FE partition, so we need to mount over there. And also home. Yeah. And let's mount the home partition in MNT home. Okay, and let's mount the VDA1 in MNT boot, also necessary. And let's activate the swap, the ArchLinux swap. Perfect. Let's check everything. DFHT. Okay, we have a boot mounted, we have home partition, and we have the root partition. And let's check the swap is activated. Perfect. We have everything. The next thing will be install the cential package. We have to install the in order to install the system, we have to install the base, the Linux, the firmware, and other utilities you need. So packstrap, let me that's okay. Packstrap mnt, we need base, Linux firmware, okay, Linux firmware, I think it's okay. Okay, LVM2, because this package is necessary install manually, because we need the LVM partitions working, and we need to install manually the LVM2 package. So, and also we need network manager for the internet connection after the installation. We are going to use an editor like Vim, and we need the Intel code. If you have a AMD CPU, you have to install the AMD code, but in my case is Intel U code. Okay, perfect. And I think I'm not missing anything else. Base, Linux firmware, LVM2, network manager, Vim, Intel code. Perfect. Let's do that. Okay, here I cut the video, but this installation is not going to take so long, but it depends on your internet connection, of course. So the next thing we need to do is generate the fstab file. So we are going to do that quickly. Gen fstab minus u mmt double arrow mnt etc fstab. We are going to generate whatever is mounted on mnt to the fstab inside of mnt, of course. Let's do that just like that. Let's check the file more mnt etc fstab, and here we see all the partitions. We have the first one is the root partition or on the root, and then the home partition on home. The VDA1 is the FE partition is on boot. Perfect. And the swap partition. Perfect. Everything looks in condition. So we are going to log in into arch root. Perfect. So arch Linux root inside of MNT. Perfect. Now we are inside of the system that we are going to install. Let's set the time zone. For example, LMSF user share zone info. In my case, is Atlantic Canary etc local time. Local time. Perfect. And the next one is let's run HW clock for adjustment. HW clock sys to HC. Perfect. Now we are going to set the localization and language. So being etc local gen, and in my case I'm going to uncomment English, British English for me because I'm close to British, but if you are in other country, check your country and language. This one, UTF-8, yeah, perfect. And let's run local gen. Let me clean first local gen here, like that. And let's set the rest of the config files like echo lamp equals en gb, what else, point utf dash 8, perfect, to the etc local conf, just like that. And what else, let's check the p console, and here is more like key map. My keyboard is Spanish, so keymap yes in vconsole.conf. Perfect. And let's check the hostname echo ArchLinux. For example, in my case, I'm going to name my computer ArchLinux, but you can set the name you want. Etc hostname, perfect. And now we are going to edit the host entries. Vim etc host, perfect. Let's put here 127.0.0.1 local host double point 1 local host and 127.0.1.1. This is our Linux point local domain Arch Linux, perfect. This one is with the name of the host name, of course. Perfect, done. What else? Okay, we have to set the init ramp fs, but we have to add manually the LVM hook to the init ramp fs. So let's do that quickly. Let's edit the file etc mkey init cpu conf, and let's check for the hooks. And here between files, I think it's between file systems and block, yeah, here. Let's put here LVM2, is the hook LVM2, perfect. Let's save and let's generate the mk8 init cpu minus p, perfect. Let's check, yeah, we have the running build hook LVM2, perfect, it's done. Here I have a few errors, but I think the same issues, you are going to see the same issues, except one that is related to my motherboard, but it's nothing bad, it's nothing important, but you are going to see two issues related with WD 719, yeah, that those, the first two ones, I think you are going to see the same, but that is normal, and anything else, the rest must be okay. So yeah, and also you have a note in the Arch Linux wiki telling you that that there is two issues that is for everyone, and you don't need to worry about that. So let's go for the password for root. Pass wd. Perfect. And let's put a really complicated password. Perfect. Oops, what happened here? Let's check again. Now it's perfect. Okay, what else? Now we are going to install the Systemd-boot. I choose Systemd-boot because it's really simple and it's already included in the base system installation. It's not like a grep that you have to install the grep package for that. So yeah, if you have a UEFI system, definitely Systemd-boot is so simple and minimalistic. So let's install first bootctl install. And you don't have to do anything crazy here because it's going to detect automatically the boot FE partitions, the partition and all the folders. So it's going to create everything there. Perfect. And let's edit the loader config file. Vim boot loader conf. Yeah, things that. Perfect. And here we are going to, we can remove this. Let me, perfect. Let's put a default, for example, arc, just like that. In case you want to add different files, I put it like that. It's going to detect all the files, call arc dash whatever. So perfect. Timeout 4. And that's it. Let's check that. Okay. And we are going to add the entry for the kernel. Let's clear this. Vim boot loader entry and the arc lattice, because it's for the lattice kernel, for example. This is you can use the name you want. It's a custom name. Okay, and let's put the title arc Linux. This is the kernel VM Linux. Perfect. Then init rd. This one have to be the Intel code first. Intel code img, and the other one init ram fs linux point emg. Perfect. And options, then root equals, then d equals, and then let's put here the, for example, r exclamation blkit dev. The root partition is dev ArchLinux, and then is root, I think. Okay, perfect. Let's put this here like that, and let's remove this. So we need the UUID, the number, for example. You can also choose by level and the device name, but this is safer in my opinion. And RW for rewriting. Perfect. And that's it. You don't need to add anything else. Perfect. And the other thing is update. After editing the bootloader config files, you have to update always. bootctl update. Perfect. What else? Well, just reboot. We need to, let me exit from here, and then you mount everything inside of MMT, for example, and reboot, just like that. Let's see if okay, perfect. We see that bootctl was set perfectly. So let's boot. Everything looks so great and fine. Perfect. And here is root. And I think it's that. Okay, perfect. Okay, now that we are inside of the our system and not in the ISO, and the first thing is enable and start network manager, for example. So systemctl enable network manager point service. We need to enable in order not to avoid do that later. So it's going to start automatically, and right now we need to start. Yeah, perfect. What else? Let me check the connectivity. Perfect, we have internet. So let's install, for example, sudo. We need to enable sudo pacman. Yes, sudo. This is for the normal username. So let's choose an editor. So, okay, editor. Let's use Beam for vsudo. Okay, and let's enable the wheel group. Perfect. This one. Perfect. Save. Perfect. And the next thing will be to add a normal user. User add -m for the home, G for the group will, the group that we enable in sudoers. So we need to add the normal user to will in order to have the sudo privilege. Perfect. S bin bash and the name of the username. In my case, Aaron. Perfect. And a password. Perfect. Let's exit from here and log into Aaron. And let's, okay, perfect. Let's enable, for example, the multilib repository if we want to the 32-bit libraries in case some application need it. We have that repository that we can enable. So sudo vim etc pacman conf. Perfect. And the password. Yeah. Let's check multilib here, the normal one. Perfect. And save. Okay, what is next? Let's check for updates. Sudo pacman -u. After adding or modifying something related to pacman, you have always to check for updates in order to avoid partial updates. Yes. Okay. So we have almost everything done, and the next thing will be, for example, to install a desktop environment. In my case, I like Genome, but you can choose whatever you want. From here, you have to check the wiki of ArchLinux and choose the desktop environment or whatever you want after here. So as a reference, for example, the only thing I have to do is sudo pacman -s genome, just like that. So everything, and I don't need to worry about anything else. It's so automatic. There are many tutorials telling you that you have to install many things, in general, but it's not true. You don't need to worry. For example, I like Genome. In my case, it's a personal choice, but Genome group install everything that the desktop environment needs. So you don't need to worry. You don't need to install X server, or you don't need to install Mesa. You don't need to install anything else. The group of genome or kernel or KDE, for example, Plasma, also do that. There are different kind of groups like a minimal group and a meta package. So yeah, it depends what kind of desktop environment do you want. There are other ones that they are not so automatic, but this one, for example, Genome is really automatic. And in my case, because I like so much Genome, the only thing I need to worry is just sudo pacman s Genome, and that's it. It's so simple. Well, the genome installation was finished, so the next thing is to enable the GDM service for the login of the users. Let's sudo, let me click here, sudo systemctl, sudo systemctl enable GDM point service. I think so. Perfect. So now the only thing is just to reboot and check if the genome desktop is working. Reboot. Perfect. Let's reboot. Okay, perfect. Everything looks perfect and normal. And the moment of the truth. Yeah, perfect. Let's log in. Let's take a while. Perfect. Okay, so finally we finished the installation of ArchLinux with Systemd-boot and LVM. So, as I told you at the beginning, I just put 10 gigabit to the home partition. Let's check here. Properties. Yeah, we have only 9.1 for the home partition. That is not enough, obviously, but I need to show you how flexible is LVM. So you don't need to worry about how to plan and manage your partitions as long as you are using LVM, because there is not a specific order of the partitions, because they are logical volumes, and everything is so flexible. You can increase and decrease the size of the partitions wherever you want. So let's open the terminal here, and let's check, for example, sudo vgs for the okay, perfect. And here we have 45 gigabits of free space. This is a space that you have available to increase your volumes, your logical volumes. So let's say that we want to increase 10 gigabits more for the home partition. Let's check also the sudo lbs, the logical volumes here. Perfect. And we see here home has only 10 gigabits. So let's increase the size of home partition. Sudo lb resize like that dash l plus 10 10 gigabytes. Perfect. Dash resize fs. The name of the volume group ArchLinux, and then slash slash home, the name of the partition you want to reside. Perfect. And it's done. It's so fast. It's nothing. It takes nothing. You don't need to wait for anything. So you close this one and let's check again. Perfect. That's it. Now you have a double. As you can see, it's so flexible. You can increase, decrease whenever you want, and also you can add a second hard disk, a second SSD or whatever you want, and create a new LVM partition, create the LVM PV create the LVM partition, and then add that new partition to the new volume group. It's so easy. So you can have all the hard disks or any storage you want in order to increase your partitions. It's so flexible. It's so fast, and that's it. That is what I want to also include LVM in my real machine. Still, I don't use LVM, but definitely I will do. I will do that, and I need it because I need some kind of flexibility, as I told you. So yeah, so I think that's it. It was the ArchLinux installation with Systemd-boot and LVM. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this video is so helpful for you. So if you like this video, please press like and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to enable notifications in order to stay up to date with my channel. So see you guys, and next will be, I don't know, but who knows. So bye guys.